Hello, everyone, and welcome to the final interview here on Tales from the Wandering Scribe. I'm your host, Gabriel Garcia. Many of you know me as the Wandering Scribe and the Wandering Quill. And joining us today is a guest I am super excited to have here on the show. My guest today is a first generation Armenian American and one of seven siblings. Big family, big fun, and big drama. They grew up in a small seaside town on Eastern Lynn, Westhampton Beach, New York. She is a founding member, principal actor, and director of a professional theater company in its 41 year. A mom of two, both graduating this spring and from different sides of the country. Off the stage and out from behind the mic, Rosemary writes, loves distance, ocean swimming, kayaking, and anything outdoors at the beach or woods. Her degrees in journalism, physics, and healing science training create the underpinnings of her curiosity and search for inspiration. And while in the city for 15 years, she and three friends created an all-female theater company in which they direct and acted in their own original works called House of Truths or HOT. They toured the festival and black box scene in downtown New York City. And she spent 6 of those years at Sotheby's auction house at 72nd and York. And in 2004, she and her husband moved back to that no longer small seaside town to rejoin her OG family and raise their children. And she's been in the world of audiobook narration since 2023. So, without further ado, let us give a huge Wandering Scribe round of applause to our guest today, audiobook narrator and theater actor, Rosemary Cline. Rosemary, welcome to the show.
Thanks, Gabriel. That was a lot. I forgot that I wrote that much.
No worries, Rosemary. No worries. I'm super excited to have you here on the show. How have you been?
Good, good. I am like you. We were just talking about it, suffering from pollen and the seasonal allergies, which sometimes just, as you know, come out of the blue and then you don't feel them for a few days and they're back. So today's one of those days. But other than that, I'm feeling great. Everything's getting warmer. All the flowers are blooming. So life is very good.
That's awesome, Rosemary. That's awesome. So, before we dive into your work of theater and narration, as a little icebreaker question, what's a random fact about you that not a lot of people know?
Oh, um, yeah. Back year after I got married to my second husband, I was in the city. I had just finished working at Sotheby's auction house, and our little black box theater was growing and doing its thing. And I got a call from two Russian artists who do art. I found
Ooh.
out did art installations all over the world, and they called me. And I don't know how they found me, but they said in their very heavy Russian accented English that they wanted me to put on an international auction for um, that would benefit the orphan milk bank for orphaned Asian elephants in Thailand.
Ooh.
And what was being auctioned off was a whole slew of paintings that they had taught the grown-up elephants to paint.
Wow.
It was really cool. So so I did. I enlisted a friend and we put together the auction, and we also did silent auction items, as you can imagine. I think we had 30 something paintings and they all went. I have two. They're just beautiful. And we had bidders from all over the world on the phones, burning up the wires. We made a lot of money for the orphan elephants milk bank. But I will say one last thing. Why did that happen? Why did they need to do that? Because the logging industry got deforested. This was
Mm,
back in the 1990s. And what
mm.
happened was, with no more forest to log, these elephants and their babies were being used, they're being tied to trees and left to die. They were being walked into the middle of the towns and for tourists throwing money at them, trying to teach them how to do tricks. They were just really abused. And a lot of baby elephants were left without parents. So these wonderful guys decided to raise money for the milk bank, and they did. They did it. It was wonderful.
That's an amazing story, Rosemary. Thank you for sharing that with us.
You bet.
Awesome. So now let's dive into your background in the theater world, I should say. Sorry. So I'm very curious. So it seems to me from your bio that you have been very fascinated with the theatrical arts for a very long time. I mean, you and your friends created your own theater company. You've done your own plays. You've toured all over New York City and more. So I'm very curious. What would you say definitively was the aha moment that really got you invested into the world of theater?
Oh gosh, I haven't thought about that. Okay, there is, I guess, one, and it happened very early in life, and I didn't know that that was what it was all about. But when I look back, I'm saying, oh yeah, that was kind of a seminal moment. When I was in 7th grade in our high school, there was a gym show. There was gymnastic competitions and teams. We were on those as well. But this was a gym show, so anyone in the school could be part of it. And took place at night, so it would be dark in the auditorium with really cool lights everywhere. And it was my very first time being in the gym show, and I was really, really nervous. And I was working on the uneven bars. And I was doing a very simple, from the book, beginner's routine. But I practiced for hours and hours, and I was really nervous. Then I did it. I finished. The lights were out, and just the really white, sparkly lights were showing. And I finished, and I stood there, and there was this huge applause. Because, of course, it was all the parents and your friends. But I wasn't thinking that way. Huge applause. And I just felt burst open by that. I don't know what it was, if it was happiness or joy or some dawning realization that, how great is it to get attention? So
Nice.
I didn't do a lot of theater at all until I was out of college. And my family, the family of my first husband and I created a professional theater company, which is the one I talked about there the most, which is now in its 41st year. So we founded that 41 years ago, and it's still going strong, growing and growing. And so I've been a seminal part of that for all those years as an actor, director, producer, and now have the big responsible title of president.
Wow, amazing. And then from that point, going back also to your bio again, you also went into the world of narration around 2023. So what got you hooked into doing audio narration? What really sparked that interest?
Well, I can't say, like so many good narrators say, that they've been listening to audiobooks all their lives or anything like that, because I really have not. But when COVID hit, our theater company had to close. We tried to do all kinds of things with film and our company to continue to reach out to our audiences. And in the summer times, we would put on a play outdoors at someone's home and people would come. But it wasn't satisfying because it wasn't 12 months a year. It wasn't enough. And the kids were home from school. So it was like, what it was like. It was very different than a normal world. So I said, well, I spend 1,000 hours a year at least doing theater. So what am I gonna do with that 1,000 hours? So I decided I would become a filmmaker. So I went online and I signed up for some great courses, and I was really working hard. And I got a great camera, and I was doing the for at least 9 months, I was doing all the assignments. And I just realized, I want to be a filmmaker, but this is not natural for me. I'm not a natural. I thought I might be. Then the strangest thing happened. Into my inbox came an email that I did not ask for. And it was from someone named Elise Arsenault and the Global Actor. And I was like, I loved her name, Global Actor. So I was reading the email, and it was all about, I didn't understand it exactly at first. It was about becoming an audiobook narrator and a huge course that she offers. But I was just like, I read it, it's cute, let it go, started doing other things. A couple months later, more emails. And I finally, like 6 months after getting the first one, I read it. I went to the website. I looked it over thoroughly. I said, this sounds like a lot of fun. And took her course. So I really didn't start narrating until 2024, because I spent that first year. I'm kind of a studenty kind of person.
Right.
So I spent that first year just thinking, oh, I have so much to learn. And I was, nervous. But she has the best course, she and her husband, Justin. I don't know if you know them.
I don't think so.
They're really great people. They're excellent instructors. She's made a huge comprehensive course. So you not only learn audiobook narration itself, but you learn the business. You learn how to be in the business. But I came with several of the things you need to do this job. Number one is all the work, hundreds and hundreds of shows I've been in and directed. So I understood story, character, story arc. I understood those things, and my life was those things. And then I also have had 2 successful businesses. One is still going on in addition to theater. So I know what it means to start your own business and run it and be successful and get through decades of ups and downs. So the whole thing I just felt like it really suited me. And then I started the actual narration and I was hooked. I just fell in love.
Nice. And are there any genre preferences that you like to narrate in that you've discovered?
Well, what I thought, because there's so many great genres, right? And I was
Right.
starting out, I'm like, I just love everything. But then I realized, well, you can't really make traction if you just do a scatter shot. So perhaps I should choose one lane and spend some time in it, see if it's suitable to me, and then branch out. So I chose cozy mysteries because
okay.
they're written. A lot of them are written by women. They actually appeal to the 40 mature woman demographic, and there are a lot of them. So I was lucky enough to send an email to a wonderful author, and she signed on with me to do a series with her. Her name is Kelly Brackenhoff, and she's a terrific writer and a wonderful human. And, I created my contract, blah, 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 and worked with her. And then, you have to keep doing all these reach outs to the producers and so on to see if you can get on their rosters. And so I did all of that and continue to do that. But so far, my most successful outreaches have been to independent authors who I will send a sample of their work and say, hey, would you like to hear more? Would you like to learn how to bring your book to audio? No strings attached, but I love your book and your story for these reasons. And if you'd like to chat, be happy to. That has been my most successful outreach program.
Ooh, fascinating. All right. So now let's go behind the scenes, behind the booth, as one would say. So when you got into the world of narration, taking the classes and learning everything about it, what really surprised you about the world of narration that you drew parallels from your time in the world of theater?
Oh, okay. Parallels between the two. And then I hope you ask me what was the most challenging thing, because I want to tell you that. The parallels
Absolutely.
between the two, they're the standard ones, which we all can see, right? Is you're telling a story. As an actor and a director, our job is to tell the story. The actor tells it from inside the story, and the director tells it from outside the story. Two completely different jobs, but you're doing the same thing. So that's a distinct similarity. The amount of research necessary to do a good job is the same. It's the same kind of thing. The ability to, you have to be able to be in for the long haul. You have to have stamina.
Right.
Same thing. In fact, it's actually in some ways there's less stamina in audiobook narration because you spend more time on a show. You spend more time rehearsing, and you spend more time in the show itself than you do with a book, even if it's a lengthy book. Unless, of course, you're in the 23-hour range, because then you're spending a lot of time between research and narration. What else is perhaps not a totally apparent similarity? There are some definite dissimilarities. Something else that's similar. I think it's about tone. It's about choices. It's about characters. It's about depth of feeling, understanding what the characters in the story are going through, what kind of story it is. These are all similarities.
Absolutely. And I can definitely think it's like a starting point to talk about the differences between, working in the theater world and working in a booth. I've actually talked with quite a few other narrators on the show who have had that background. I think the one that definitely stands out to me, at least two that I know, is T. Quillen, who is a SAG actor. Oh, he just got a SAG card, as well as former theater actor turned narrator. And I believe her first name is Jillian. She's another narrator based in New York right now. She also has a background in theater who went into narration. And I find it very interesting how, listening to their experiences, and I think you may also find similar ground, Rosemary, is that in the world of theatrics and the theater performing arts, you're able to really get into the character and really, find how this character would walk, talk, because that all plays into the voice of the character, the costuming and everything. With narration, it's a lot difficult because you're just going based off of the description of the book and how he's or she is presented, and it may be very, very minimal. So how do you develop a voice and a personality based upon limited information? And that's where that whole discussion with the author and the narrator comes into play, because the author may have one idea, but of course the narrator is the one bringing the character to life.
Yeah. Great observations. I think there are a couple of things, and I wasn't expecting, so I learned this as I went along, and I'm still so new. If your author has a person in mind or a character when they're writing it, when they're hearing it in their heads, and you can get them to share that with you, then you have a springboard from which to go deeper. If that isn't, if they don't have that, and that's all up to you, you actually kind of, I think I do like to come up with the physicalities, because even if you're sitting in your booth by yourself, so different than theater, except when you're home learning your lines. Basically, you're in communion with your fellow actors and director and stagehands. You're all working together. So you're all alone in your booth or in your research time. But you can get a sense of how you think that character would hold him or herself, what they might do with their hands, how their voice. I've just been learning a bit about Laban and taking some courses, and that's so cool, because you're learning that there is motion in voice. Like the writing has motion. So that's really helpful. But I think that for me, I find it really helpful to actually have a characterization, a whole body thing. And I didn't know that at first. I figured that out, after I'd done a few books. I'm like, I'd like to have more depth. I'd like to feel like the person walks and talks, and that's why you can understand who they are when they speak. So yeah, that was a great observation, Gabriel, from all of you guys. Another difference, I guess, is, you're working by yourself in your booth.
Yes.
Always, unless you are lucky enough to have a director or an engineer to work with. Otherwise, it's just you. Mm-hmm. You are, unlike an actor who's playing one role, unless you're doing a fun show like 39 Steps where you play 6 roles. And unlike an actor who is not, excuse me, a director who's not able to do any acting but is in charge of everybody, the audiobook narrator is in there for the most part, unless it's duet or dual, is in there doing all of everybody, and
Mm-hmm.
hugely different. That's a big responsibility for me, because it's so different than what I do usually.
Well said, Rosemary. Well said. And this kind of goes into the first fan question that we have of the day. And this comes from a reviewer who wants to know, did you develop a routine once you started the world of narration? And I love this question because I love hearing how narrators go about their day. Especially, there's been a lot of narrators on the show who are parents and have children, and they mostly work at night because their little ones are asleep, hopefully. And the evening and sometimes early mornings are the only times they can do narration work. So what is your schedule like for you as a narrator, Rosemary?
Well, first I've got to say hats off to the people who have young children who do this, because I could not work at night the way I have friends who are like, they're up till 2 o'clock in the morning and doing beautiful work. That would not be me. But my kids, luckily, by the time I discovered this and started narrating, they were both in college. So very different at home. So I was fortunate that way. But I sort of run things the same way I run everything I do, the theater company and the business, the other business that I do. My main creative energy is in the morning. It's before 2 o'clock. It's all morning, like 6 a.m. to 2 p.m. So I will do the bulk and the difficult part of my life then. And then in the afternoons and evenings, I'll do the lighter stuff. The actual, I'm really good at compartmentalizing, luckily. So I run a sort of strict schedule with myself, and then I'll give myself days off, or I'll give myself afternoons off, or, I reward myself with all kinds of things like cookies, coffees, and anything that will get me to do what I need to do and be happy at the end of it. So I will do my narration really sort of like, unless I'm pressed and the timing is off, I will do my narration between 10 and 2. And I'll do prep before or after for the next day or whatever it's going to be. Then I also do my other work the same way. Like if I'm preparing for a show, either as an actor or director, I do the hard work in the morning. And then I do conferences, emails, all the other stuff one has to do to contact people and be in touch and get things going. All of that's in the later afternoon.
All righty. And now another fun fan question. I think you mentioned this earlier in the interview. This is a two-parter. And this viewer would like to know. Oh, okay, perfect. I love that they actually got this. Okay, so they actually are combining your theater background and your narration background into this question. So I appreciate this. They would like to know, in the world of theater and in the recording booth, what has been either your favorite character or scene to play, and what has been the most challenging scene or character to showcase?
In both theater
In
and
both. Yes.
Oh, I could do theater a little more easily.
Okay.
Last year at this time, I was doing Who's Afraid of Virginia Woolf?
Ooh, nice.
So that was a mind and body bending show to do. That absolutely is the hardest thing I've done. And I can still viscerally feel it was pretty rough. It was wonderful and luckily very well received and well reviewed. But it was so much so that for the first time ever after the show closed, I really took like 2 weeks to just kind of decompress and find myself again, because I was really kind of, I think I was in a different place, a dark place. But when it comes to, and so that was most challenging. When it comes to narration, I have to say, and this points out what kind of homework I need to do. There's not one single character that has been the hardest, but for me, it's having a few male voices and trying to give them real personalities and have them sound distinct and have them sound real, and also,
Right.
Whatever they're supposed to be, combination of warm and mean, or, all the multiplicity that people are. Of course, for women, I find those so easy, just to go clack, clack, clack. Ah, I understand that kind of woman. I see that kind of what, but for me, I have to do clearly more work, so that I can do better work in that area.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well said, Rosemary. Well said. And this kind of goes now into a very good question, which I'm going to also make a two-parter. So whenever you and your troupe are working on a new production, or you are working with an author for their books, what is the goal mindset you have when working on a new project? And from that point, what is the promise you're making, not just to yourself and, of course, your team in the world of theater, but also to the author and the audience?
Oh gosh, that's a good multi-layered one, Gabriel. I'm going to say first, so that we keep things a little straight in my brain. In audiobook narration, the client is the author.
Mm-hmm.
In theater, the author is super important, but your client is the audience, at least in the way I see it.
Right.
So what was the core question?
Yes. The goal mindset you have and the promise you're making.
Yeah. So the goal is always to tell the story in both what the heck do we call these things? Platforms. That's a good one. But so it's to tell the story, but it's also very much for me about collaboration. I want to.
Yes.
I just really, really don't want to be in a position of all by myself saying how everything should go. Especially in theater, you've cast this thing. You have a lot of faith in the people you've cast, and all the team that you've put together. And often, like in our case, there's a lot of time you've spent together over the years. So you believe in all these people, and they're inspired, and you want their artistry and creativity to be sparked, to be alive, to be contributing, because nobody can do that by themselves. So collaboration there. And then for working with the author, it's the same thing, really, because the authors I've worked with so far have not ever had an audiobook. And they've always, they're like, oh, I really want to do that, but it's too expensive, or it's this, or it's that. So there's a bit of education there where you get to show them, expose to them how they could bring their book to audio and not be paying some exorbitant fee. And also breaking down for them, this is the way it works, because they have no idea. It's like me asking the author, like, where do you get your story ideas from? What do you think about? It's like, that's a world I don't have any experience in. And they also, this is a mystery to them, audiobook narration. So that collaboration takes place. You're educating them. And then you get to the artistic, creative part where you read a book, you prep a book, you have a list of questions for your author.
Right.
And in those questions, you're really delving into their brains, into their story, and that's sometimes such a beautiful thing, because often your author will answer whatever your question is, but sometimes what happens is you've read it and you have a certain take on it, and that's not how they were hearing it, and they're very surprised, and kind of, they think it's kind of cool. They're like, I didn't expect that response. So there's all that fun and cool stuff.
Absolutely.
And trust. I think if creating trust is paramount, then you will sidestep, because trust includes respect, and it includes caring. So if these are your motivators, if these are the things that you have to have in every collaboration, well, then you're going to sidestep a lot of problems.
Absolutely. Absolutely, Rosemary. Now, here's a very, very important fan question. This is a new one, so I'm very thankful that one of my viewers sent this to me. And they would like to hear your thoughts on what is your comment to those who believe that audiobook narration is not acting?
Oh, really? Oh,
Yeah, I've had a lot of people who have shared this on the show, and it's unfortunate that that's the case, but I believe it is acting. It is not just being in a booth doing voices. It is acting because you're trying to bring a character to life on screen. It's almost the same thing as, voice actors in a recording booth for a TV show, because they don't get a chance to see what the character looks like. They're just told what the character is or who uh, they are. They don't get to see what the character looks like. They just have to make a voice and build a personality around it, which takes a lot of time. And yet, despite the incredible work narrators have done in the world of audiobooks, there are still those who believe that it's not acting, it's just doing voice work. It's a shame.
yeah. Well, then I would ask those people, have they ever seen the inside of a recording studio where an animated film is being created with just the actors standing at their mics together? It's like such a cool thing. And you
Yes.
are seeing them acting.
Hmm.
You're seeing them, and they're only doing one character. Sometimes they're doing more. But you're seeing them acting with their voice. They're actually moving too. That's their skill. There's talent involved. It's the same thing. Just because we're sitting, some of us stand. Just because we're sitting doesn't mean we're not acting. And I think if you listen to an audiobook, I haven't heard one of these, where someone just reads and makes up voices and that's what they do, that's got to be pretty boring. And then if you listen to someone good, like Hilary Huber or Julia Whalen or Gabra Zachman or Saskia Marvelard, I think that's how you say her name. I mean, you like fall off a cliff into the story, and they paint a picture. They show you a movie. It's like talent and skill.
Hmm. Well said, Rosemary. Well said. Now going forward in what I like to call the reflective aspect or introduction to the reflective side of being a narrator. When did you feel confident in your abilities after you have done the training, you've done the research, you've done the classes, and you began working with authors? When did you feel confident in your abilities to say, you know what? Yeah, I am a narrator. I am this, and this. When did you feel confident in yourself? And what have been the reactions and reviews been like from friends and family who learned that you were embarking on this new journey?
Okay, great question, because the first part of that question has levels to it. I would say it was pretty easy for me to say I'm an audiobook narrator because I'm a businesswoman, I'm a theater artist, and these are how I live my life. So that wasn't as much of a hurdle. But what was in the booth, having prepped, having researched, you're reading the book and you realize that you just might not have all you should have to do this one passage or get this character sounding like what they're living through. And that happens, not just once. To me, I feel like that continues as the bar gets raised in my work. As I work harder and become better, I continue to find places where, that's not up to snuff. I didn't get that right. It's not like perfection. It's just like these characters deserve to be whole.
Mm-hmm.
Be, kind of, they go in and out of the relationship of the story. They deserve to be really well done. So I think I always notice those times. I'm like, I need to, nose to the grindstone. There's some more stuff I've got to learn. I don't think that I've ever let a character down so badly that it's like, ugh. But it is instrumental to understand that I know where I need to work. Then the other part of the question, what was the second part?
Oh, yes. When did you tell friends and family that you were embarking on the world of narration? What have the reviews and reactions been like?
Well, when my family learned I was doing it, they were very supportive. I don't think none of them had ever listened to an audiobook, so they didn't even know what it was like me. But they were really supportive. And um, for the first audiobook, my daughter made a cake, and she's a really good cake maker, and it had like a book on it with little writing, and then mom's first audiobook. It's really, really cute. And they have been, there's not a lot of interaction. I'm saying, oh, I'm doing this, I'm doing that. But every so often I'll tell them of something I'm doing, and they're interested, and they're a great family. And then I do have a circle of very close friends who know, and they're super supportive. They just think, sounds like fun. You'd be great at that. That kind of thing.
Right. That's awesome, Rosemary. That's awesome. And now we're going into probably a very loaded set of questions, what I like to call the reflective aspect of being a narrator. So I'll give some context for this question. So I've been doing this show for about almost 8 years now. I've interviewed a lot of people over the years, a lot of authors, editors, narrators, artists, a lot of people in the creative industry, and those in the academic world, because I also get people who are also academic authors, editors, and so forth, as well as historians as well. And when talking with people of the creative side, it is very interesting to hear their thoughts on these set of questions of what it means to be a creative in the digital age, because the industry has greatly changed. And if we look at the world of audiobooks and narration specifically, that has also changed. For a long time, 20 years or 30 years ago, people from Broadway or, the television world, and sometimes even movies, narrated audiobooks. And sometimes you had a full-on, Broadway cast reading some of the best books of the industry, and they're still doing now. But as time has gone on, you've had the rise of course, social media and the rise in the internet, and you have other people who may not be classically trained in the world of narration or even in the world of theater to make that transition. There are those that have done the work, have done the due diligence, and some of them are absolutely incredible, and some of them become my greatest friends. And hearing their stories is just so fascinating to learn, because, as I'm sure you will definitely agree, Rosemary, the internet and the social media world is a double-edged sword. It can be a blessing and a curse. It can help you connect, but it can also isolate you. And it can, unfortunately, heighten what I like to call the narrator's block in terms of not getting the right voice or struggling to find the voice, and imposter syndrome in the sense of, am I really a narrator, or am I just, so-and-so doing this? There's a lot of things that go into it. So ultimately, Rosemary, for you, having that, theater background and disciplined mindset, what has kept you centered and grounded as you embark on this, new journey of yours, and not be swallowed up by the noise that is social media and the internet?
Such a good question, Gabriel. um, Everything you say is true. It's so easy to spend time on Instagram, Threads, Facebook, wherever one likes to go for their information and just for scrolling. And I, because I'm older, it wasn't as simple for me, and it wasn't as welcoming for me. So that might have saved me a little bit, because I keep a very tight rein on how much time I spend on Instagram. Because what I noticed is, first it was like, oh my God, Instagram's so scary. What is Instagram? Oh, I got to post. I got to do this. I got to do that. And getting used to all that was its own kind of fun thing, but nerve wracking. And once I felt a little comfortable, I started really looking at, going on it. and looking, and I'm like, time would go by, and I could tell that over a few months, I realized that if I spent a certain amount of time a day looking at it for work, looking at what narrators were posting, supporting them in what they're doing, seeing someone like you, trying to understand what you do, and then seeing interesting people who you interview and put on your show, and then supporting them. I love that part of it. I'm not as in love with posting myself, and I know it's on my list. I had to get better. But I also could tell, for me personally, if I spent more than 10 or 15 minutes, I started to go down. My mood went down, and I started to feel bad about what I had to contribute. And and after some time of experiencing this over and over again, I found I was like, ding dong, this is something to do with how I'm spending my time here. And I realized that, wait, when I woke up in the morning, before I looked at Instagram, I was who I am. I finished looking at Instagram, I'm really still who I am, but I have this weird feeling. I'm not doing what they're doing. Oh my gosh, look what they're doing. Is that what I should be doing? All these strange, sort of thoughts that knock you off your what's that thing called? Your center, your core. So I just said, okay, I have to be on a diet. I have to say I can spend this much time. And if it doesn't work out that way and I go over, I'm really sensitive to, okay, I feel starting to feel bad. I'm going away from it. But what it has done is get me very pointed, directed at what I want to see when I go on there. I want to support my friends. I want to support new people, find new people, support them. And I want to see what I could possibly post. But that's about it.
Absolutely. And now let's already talk about the biggest elephant in the room when I love talking with narrators and people in the theatrical worlds about, and that is what's the word I'm trying to get? The very, very poignant rise of AI narration with, places like Audible, unfortunately, AMX, and Amazon really pumping it out. A lot of my good friends have been very, very outspoken, and rightly so, about AI narration, where on one side they can understand why it's there, because getting a full on audiobook produced now as an author, it's not cheap, especially you do a full cast. It's very, very expensive, if not more expensive if you have a book that's about 90,000 words or 120,000 words. It's a lot because it's not just the narrators you're paying for the characters. You also have someone to be the narrator who tells the story, and also find someone who does the audio mixing to make sure everything runs seamlessly. We're talking about maybe at least close to 10 grand for the whole project, which is a lot. But on the other side, which I've talked with a lot of good friends about, it's unfortunate that many of them have lost book deals or contracts because AI narration has proven to be the more profitable and mass-produced option. I've listened to a few AI narrations. I don't like it. It doesn't have that human, authentic feel, and it just feels very stale. So ultimately, Rosemary, I would love to hear your thoughts on this very big aspect of the narration world.
Yeah, this is the Megillah. You're absolutely right, Gabriel. There was a time last year when the AI narration connection happened, and every conference everyone was really nervous and really scared, and it's what everyone talked about everywhere I went. So and I was so new to the industry, I didn't know what kind of an effect it would have. And I'd become aware that the whole narration industry had a seismic change from 10 years ago, and very much so from 20 years ago, when so many of the Golden Voices started. So since COVID and everything that happened there, since then, the changes have been huge as well. So I'm sort of in that newer wave, and I had to understand about AI, and it took about a year before the conferences and all the other different workshops I went to, and I go to a lot of them, started seeing it differently. And I'm gonna circle back to AI narration in a sec, but I wanted to just kind of do an overview of what I've noticed as the change in attitude. What we started to hear in 2026 was a reframing of AI,
Yes.
and having it be sort of, guys, it's not going anyplace. So let's put AI narration over here for a sec, and let's look at AI itself and how it can be harnessed to make our jobs easier. And that sort of mind shift was really helpful, because it sort of cut through all the fear, and it allowed people to start focusing on, oh, it can help us with this, it can help us with this, not narration, but all these different things to help our entrepreneur ship go faster.
Yes.
So when it comes to AI narration, I, like you, have listened to some, a few minutes here and there. It just leaves me empty and cold. So that's okay. That's it. If that's what you're going to choose, if an author's going to choose that for all the time they put into that book, they're going to choose that way to express it to their listeners. I don't understand that choice, but that is for them. I firmly believe, and maybe it's pie in the sky, but what we have to offer is unique, such an overused word, but it's human. It's not probably going to be ever copied. So let's just keep doing it. Let's just keep working hard, getting the human voice out there, and let us join all the wonderful things like human voices for human arts. I've donated my services and other kinds of things to any cause that promotes the human voice. So that's what I think we have to do. Two things: use it to harness it for ourselves, and really fight hard on the front of human voices. And that's what we can do. I mean, we can't rip it away out of the hands of somebody who really wants to use it for that.
That is true. That is very, very true, Rosemary. Now, before we get into the final segment, which is the business side of being a narrator, here's a fun little fan question, and I love this question in particular. And this comes from one of my viewers who wants to know, when you get into a recording booth, have you found any words that you would normally say in a theater world that are very difficult to say in a recording booth? And I love this question because a lot of my narrator friends have mentioned on camera that there have been certain words that they could say in their everyday life, but when they get into the recording booth, playing a character or doing a narration read, there is that one word that just slips them up every time.
So are we talking curse words, or are we talking difficult to say words?
Just any words that, it could be as, what was one word as an example? I'm trying to remember. I think it was courier. I remember one of my narrator friends, they could say courier very easy in their natural voice. But when they were playing a character, I think it was either French American or German American, that word slipped them up every time. They could not say courier to save their life, and it always frustrated them. And I don't know if that was because they were doing an accent at the time, but it's just so funny that they said that. So I guess in that regard, have you ever had a word like that just slipped you up that you could not say in a scene read, but you could just say normally if you're not like working?
Yes, in fact, sometimes for me it's a word with an S, like accessible or something silly, but I have to say, honestly, there's probably one in every book for me. It's not a curse word. It's more a word with multiple syllables that has some recurring S sounds or something. And I just can't make it sound natural. You go back, and you just like, I gotta go on. I gotta do this. But yeah, so tongue twisters work and stuff like that, but still, there's always one in every book. And I think it's kind of funny and it's fine. You just somehow you
Absolutely.
muscle through. You just kind of like, I gotta get something out here.
Very true, Rosemary. Very true. Now, kind of going into now the business side of being a narrator, once you began working with authors and building your brand on Instagram and the various social media platforms, what really surprised you about that aspect of the narration world? And looking back, is there anything you would have done differently?
Oh. So if I understand that question properly, I should start this by saying I'm still trying to create my brand. I'm getting closer to who I am in this narration world. And it comes actually from what other people say to me. And then I sort of sit with it for a while and I'm like, well, I think that really resonates. I think that is part of who I am as a narrator. But I've hesitated to go all out and go work with a branding person and have it all. I don't know if that's the right way to go, but my branding, Gabriel, is coming together very slowly. So that surprised me. I thought that would be really easy. Here's who I am. This is what I do. Here's, how I do it or how I look or how, and it's not. It's not easy.
It is not.
It's not, but other people are really good at it.
Yes, there
Like
is.
you
And
have
think,
been. Look how you've created yours. Like it's really clear who you are or who we know you. We can see a person. We understand the attributes and the values and so on. And it's comforting because I every time I see it, I'm like, I know that. Yeah, that's him. I'm like, Rosie, you don't have anything like that.
it was not easy when I started this journey. And I'm sure you also didn't agree with that. I was not a very social media person. I do not have Facebook, do not have Twitter. But when I started doing these interviews, I realized I need a platform to showcase who I am. And of course, as I started, writing books as I am an author as well, I also need a platform to showcase that as well. So I got a LinkedIn account to make a newsletter, I got a website, I got social media. Instagram is my only platform. I know a lot of people have said, oh, you got to be on all socials. It's just too much. I'm not a Facebook person. I will never use Twitter or X now, will not use it. I love Instagram because that's the community that I have. I've been able to create great friendships and collaborations with a lot of great people. And they have helped me find, my voice and who I am. Which then kind of leads into another very important question is who exactly is the audience? And what I mean by that, Rosemary, is, as you mentioned before, in the world of, as a theater actor, you have the audience who is the primary target. That is who you are performing for. You and your fellow castmates, your fellow actors are performing for. But with that said, no matter like what play you're doing, people are going to have expectations of how a certain play or a story is supposed to go. And normally that's the case, but not always. And it is very challenging to balance a person's individuality versus marketability because you want to have those two. And if you go into the world of narration, it's very much the same thing. I remember talking with a very good narrator friend who pointed this out is that they have a very distinctive voice, very low, gravelly, deep. And a lot of people make comparisons to him to another narrator, which at first he enjoyed, but he realized he doesn't want to be associated with that narrator, not out of disrespect. They had a huge respect for them, but they don't want to be pigeonholed as the next so and so.
Of course.
They want to showcase their voice and who they are. But that goes back to marketability. How are you going to market your individuality in an industry where you need to have both? So ultimately, Rosemary, this very, very loaded question boils down to this. Whenever you're working with an author on either a new book or the same author with a next book in the series, how do you showcase who you are as a narrator and also a theater actor with many years of experience in the industry of getting into characters and bringing a sense of authenticity to said characters, but also being marketable and being knowledgeable of the genre that you are narrating in?
That's a tough question. Um, so I'm going to simplify that to see if I got it.
Okay.
Shoot. My brain is going in too many directions. So, okay, say it for me really simply.
Okay,
so
of course.
I got it right.
Okay. So when thinking of individuality and marketability, I guess it could be simplified as this. Do you narrate or play characters for the audience in mind, or do you not take the audience into consideration and just play the character for yourself because you are passionate about it?
Okay, I got that. If you know, they always say to you when they're teaching you about narration, they say choose a person you're telling this story to. That's very important. I had a lot of trouble with that coming from an acting background where I'm talking to a huge room of people, a lot of numbers, but
Right.
I'm not like thinking about that's a lot of people. I'm inside the story telling the story, but I'm well aware I'm being watched. Unless you're breaking the fourth wall, and then you're having this very personal interaction with the audience.
Right.
So I always, when I was learning, I always had trouble choosing a person. And then I said, well, Rosie, just choose like a small group of people. Maybe it's 4 people, or maybe you're in a very small conference and you're talking to your board, or you're just find some way to do what these teachers are telling you need to do. So I don't know if this is even okay to say, but this is the way it's been going for me lately. I don't do any of that anymore, and that's only recently, because it doesn't actually work with hooking me into the story. What I do is I see the story unfold like a movie or a play, and I'm in it, in the position, actual physical position of each character. And it doesn't like run from one side of the room to the other or anything like that. I just feel myself in the body of the character. And I do it really thinking about that and myself. I'm not thinking about someone I'm telling the story to. And I'm probably never going to get another book again if someone hears that, probably. But that doesn't work for me to be really hooked in. I'm going to go in there. I'm listening. I'm hearing. But at a certain point, you do all that prep. You do all that research, and then you got to fly. You can't remember that you said you were going to do this there. You just have to trust that it's in there. You worked on it, and then you got to go tell that story. And I think when you're in that story, you're on that sled, you know, you're in that milieu, I kind of feel like that I'm in there myself. Does that answer that at all?
Oh, yes. Yes, it does. Absolutely. Absolutely. And here's a very, very important question, which I did want to ask you. And it is something that I've asked a lot of narrators on the show. And you kind of mentioned it earlier in the interview, is that you have a preference for the type of stories you want to narrate because those are the types of stories that you very much enjoy. And I think it is important, just like for authors, narrators have preferences of stories that they want to work on, because it's either they can play those characters very believable, it's not too difficult, and the author and you have a good, repertoire, good collaboration. But for anyone who wants to get into the narration industry, I've had a lot of people say that the worst thing you could do is say yes to every project, because there are going to be some books that, while the author may consider you in mind, it may be either out of your wheelhouse, or the subject matter is too taboo or controversial that you don't want to be associated with, or if you're reading the story and you're already invested, but the the author says, oh, I don't like that voice, can we change it? But you've already committed to the voice already in, and the author has said, that's the voice I want. It's important for people to understand, and that even goes with authors as well when they're being contracted to write stories, the power of saying no. So, Rosemary, I would love to hear your insights on how narrators, regardless if they are just starting off or if they've been in the industry for a few years, they have that power to say no. They don't have to accept every project that is presented to them.
Yeah, yeah. This is a great thing to cover, and I think it's so personal, and to each person. And I'm going to circle back to the reference about the type of story for me, because I did start with cozy mystery because I thought it was so accessible. But since then, love to narrate magical realism, love literary.
Ooh.
I love to narrate thrillers and romance. I do. I love those now. Like, that's now where I'd like to, I have a few, and I'd like to now go deeper into those areas. However, I also like nonfiction, science, and finance. So that's a different thing. But the power of saying no. I think as a narrator, we want so much to create a catalog, to work, to get to have that juicy life of being in the booth and reading great stories and connecting people to these stories for the author and for yourself. So the impetus is a very, very good altruistic instinct.
Yes.
So I think saying no is so personal because the first two books I was offered, I was doing auditions because, for example, you want your voice to be heard. You want to try to do auditions. You don't know what that's all about. You go on ACX, you audition for different things.
Oh, yes.
You're just kind of like starting out in that world, trying to understand, can I do a good audition? What is a good audition? Blah, blah, blah. So I put out a few, and I got three offers actually. And I realized that I really couldn't say yes. And it turned out to be, one of them was subject matter. One of them, two were subject matters, and the subject matters were different. And the third was the author had said, I'm willing to work this way, royalty share plus per finished hour. They had chosen something, and they said, I'm willing to work this way. But when they contacted me, I said, okay, great. So we're going to work this way. I have a contract and blah, blah. They said, oh, no, I don't want to work that way. I want to work a different way. I said, but that's what you put in the, advertisement, the blurb. And so I understood there that might be a difficult relationship.
Yes.
It did start out sort of in a sort of clear and truthful vein, shall we say. And so things like that might enter your decision to say yes or no. And another can be overbooking yourself, being so eager that you just say yes to everything, and then suddenly there's burnout, or you can't deliver. Either you kill yourself doing it, or you miss deadlines, and then you're really kind of, in the first case, you're working against your own physical body, your mental, emotional body, and in the second case, you're damaging your reputation, and that's kind of a big thing in this industry. Can you do your best job every time? Can you communicate clearly and well? Do you have excellent time management skills? Do you always deliver on time? Or if you can't, well in advance, you say, I've got a wrinkle, would this be okay? Your reputation's so important. So you don't want to mess with that. So those are 3 or 4 ways that I think one makes those kinds of decisions. Those are certainly ways I've made that decision of no. And I do think for every human being, there is great power in no when it's grounded in what's best for you. And
yes,
a lot of times it's going to be best for the person you're working with too, because you going against what's good for you is probably going to mess something up.
Absolutely, Rosemary. Absolutely. And before we wrap up this incredible narrator interview, we're now going to do my favorite, which is the rapid fire fan question round. All righty. So we're starting off with the starter as always. As a reader, which do you prefer, themes or tropes in your stories?
Themes or tropes? Oh my God, I like them both. And I like subtropes. I mean, I like it all. I like it juicy.
All righty. Next question. This is a two-parter. Most overused trope in fiction and most underappreciated trope in fiction.
Oh my gosh, those are hard. Um, you are the master of the two, the dual question. Most overused. Okay, this is personal, and I think it's going to be. It's friends to lovers. I mean, enemies to lovers.
Yes, that is probably the one that a lot of people say, and you know what? It's kind of true.
Yeah, and the thing is, though, when you find something that uses that theme and surprises you with the characters and the story, then you're like, I accept it 100%.
Awesome. Now, what
Oh,
about underappreciated?
yeah. Underappreciated. That's a really good question. What is underappreciated?
The one most people say, and I kind of agree with it, found family.
Oh, yeah. I love found family. Yeah. Okay, I'm in that camp too.
All righty. Okay. Ooh. Okay. Here's a good one. Now, as a narrator, which is probably the most difficult of the five senses to showcase in a scene read?
Ooh, which of the five senses? Smell. Wouldn't it
Ooh,
be
that's a
smell?
good one.
Because I mean, what can you do? Unless you have the words that say, "Oh, that's a really bad smell." How can you do it?
That is very true. That is very, very true. Okay. Ooh, okay. I love this one. I love this one. I'm going to tweak it a little bit.
All right.
Okay. So, Rosemary, this is a hypothetical scenario question. So, you have just been given an unlimited budget and you're working with an author that you love, either one you've worked with or one you would love to work with, and you're given the option to do one of two things: to either adapt their work into a theater performance with a full cast, and we can even say it's people that you work with in your company, or be in a recording booth with the best narrators in the industry. Which do you take?
Hands down, easy. B. Be in the recording booth with the best narrators, because I've done the other one a lot. I mean, lots and lots. So this would be like, oh, what a prize.
Awesome. Okay. Oh, okay. This one's always tough. And I think I'm going to wonder if you can tie it to the world of theater.
Okay. Let's
As
see.
an actor, which do you find to be the most challenging to accept? Knowing when to stop editing a performance or knowing when to confidently say the performance is done?
Ooh, Gabriel, I feel like the performance is never done. Like I always feel there's a continual amount of growth that could take place. Like after we finish a run of a show, I'm like, if we had another week, I know this could go to like another planet. So I would find it really hard to say it's complete. Although, on the other hand, because I'm older now and I used to cry at the end of every show, I would miss it. The strike would be so emotional. But in this last year of directing and acting, I've realized that I'm okay that it's ephemeral, that it's been sent out into the world. People have seen it and heard it. It lives in them some way, and they go out, and the story just kind of dissipates. And we finished working together on that piece. It's only been recent, though. I used to just be very upset when they were over. So,
Absolutely 100%. And the last of the rapid fire fan questions, I'm just going to scroll through just to see which one haven't I done. Ooh, okay. This is a new one. I don't think I've asked a lot of people this question. If you had to go back and change one aspect of a performance, whether in a recording booth or from a theater production, what performance would that be and why would you change it?
oh gosh, that's a difficult question. Um, so far, I would not change. I've only done 9 books. So I would not change what I've done because I probably don't know enough yet to know what I would change. I've been sort of, okay with each of them, and felt that I got out of it what I had put into it. As far as theater goes, there were a lot more opportunities where I wish I could have done something different. I mean, almost every single one. I think the sense that, and maybe it's not one performance, but the sense that um, going further into whatever, if it's pathos or emotionalism, and knowing, having the faith to know that I can go more emotional and that it's right for the character. That's always been a little bit something I play around with and don't always feel that I get it right. So there are many times where I would think like, if I had just gone deeper there, if I'd gone further there, what would that have provoked in the other person's performance? And would that have been a better outcome?
Right.
So I'm giving you a general answer, but I think it kind of actually spills over into audiobooks, because I was working with a coach the other day, and they said, you can go further here. Go further in this part right here. I'm like, oh, do you mean like this? And like, yeah. I'm like, oh, I think I've just been waiting for permission because I don't want to overact, because I come from.
Right.
So I don't know if that's a good answer for you, but that's my.
That works. And finally, Rosemary, we arrive at the final two questions. Now, I talked about a lot in this interview, and I think I've gotten a glimpse of who you are, and I am so happy for that. Ultimately, for the listeners out there, and possibly some prospective narrators, or possibly some young theater actors, either in high school or in college, watching this interview or listening, what is your word of wisdom that you would like to instill upon the next generation of theater and narrators? And finally, what do you want people to take away from your performance, either on stage or in a recording booth?
Oh gosh, those are two good ones. All right, I'll try to be succinct. To young actors or new actors on any platform, any form, I say, if you want to do it, do it. And get ready for the long haul. Get ready, get yourself invested. I mean, get trained, both the arts and the creativity and the business. Get ready to, and go for it. Absolutely. And if you can, think of it this way, for narration, start modestly. There's so many good narrators who are working in closets with a very modest setup.
Yes.
And they're doing good work. So it doesn't have to cost $1 million. And if it's in your heart and soul and burning in you, do it.
Well said.
So, and I think the other one was, wait, what was the other one?
What do you want people to ultimately take away from your performance, both on stage and in the booth?
Okay, really, what has always been is, I want to be able to lose Rosemary. I want to be able to be seen and heard as the characters, and as the narrator, in this case, telling the story, and as the characters. I don't want whatever that thing is that makes Rosemary Rosemary. I don't want that front and center.
Well said. Absolutely well said, Rosemary. And on that note, viewers and listeners, we conclude the month of April here on Tales from the Wandering Scribe. I want to give a huge thank you to Rosemary for coming on the show, making her official debut, and hopefully not the last. If you'd like to see Rosemary back on the show, possibly in a special episode, which I am considering, possibly getting a few narrators on the show, and possibly the same narrators who also have theater backgrounds, to do from the theater world to the recording booth for a special episode. You know what you have to do. Like this video, comment down below, and most importantly, subscribe to the channel. Now, Rosemary, where can people find you on social media if they want to reach out and connect? And do you have any upcoming projects you would like to announce?
Yeah, let's see. You can find my website at rosemaryclinenarrator.com, and Cline is CLINE. Instagram is Rosemary Cline _narrator. and Threads is the same. And I really don't do anything on Facebook, much like you. And those are that's where I can be found. LinkedIn is just my name. And upcoming projects. Well, I am waiting. I've just done a third audition for what I think is a really cool project. So I'm waiting to hear if that's going to come my way. And with the first author I ever worked with, she is working on, Kelly Brackenhoff is working on a couple more books to end the series, and I'm waiting to hear how that's coming along too. So yeah. Thank you so much, Gabriel. This has been just so much fun. I really appreciate you allowing me to come on and having like all this. You're so well prepared. All these questions and the fan favorites and the rapid.
Thank you, Rosemary. Thank you. I really do appreciate that. And I'm so glad we were able to do this interview. As I said, I've been looking forward to this all week and all month. And again, viewers and listeners, thank you for your love and support. And if you'd like to follow Rosemary, make sure to go to all those links down below in the description of this video. And as always, this has been the Wandering Scribe and a Wandering Quill signing out. Wish you all a wonderful Wednesday wherever you are in the world. And we'll see you all in May. Take care and have a wonderful day.